Hi, this is Crystal Jordan, your girl with Reality Check here at RollingOut, and I am excited to welcome Miss Monyetta Shaw to Reality Check. Welcome, Monyetta.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for coming. You know, we've been trying to get you here for a while.
Yes.
And so
yes.
you are finally here. So
Finally.
we get to have our conversation.
Yes, let's do it.
Now, I have your book,
Yes.
Keep It Classy. It is a co-parenting strategies for unstoppable moms and devoted dads. Absolutely great.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, first of all, kudos to you for being able to write something like this. Keep it classy, because I don't think there's enough messages like this after breakups. People love, especially celebrity breakups.
Oh, yes.
People love talking about the hype and the juice and, you know, all the dirt that gets thrown back and forth on both sides. And very seldom are people able to even try to keep it classy. So again, kudos to you for even trying to put out something that can help people look at breakups in a positive way, right? Especially after having to deal with it in a very public forum. So we all know you were in a relationship with Neo, who is a one-word moniker, which means that's a pretty high level of celebrity when your ex-boyfriend is known by his first name. So well, first of all, where did you and Neo meet?
Oh girl, we actually met in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, when I think he was there shooting a movie, and it was a concert there. And I was there and saw each other. You know, he's an amazing songwriter, so of course, you know, I knew who he was.
Right.
Just looked and kept moving, watched the concert. But after that, I used to be a radio personality. So a fellow ex-coworker kept calling me, and it's so funny because I was supposed to take my then boyfriend, but we broke up like 3 days prior to the concert, but I took my cousins.
Look at God.
Look at God. And so he's like, oh, Neo, what's your number? I'm like, oh, you know, I just wasn't in that headspace. And I think 2 weeks later, after him calling and stuff, I like, it's okay, cool, give it to him or whatever. So 2 weeks after that, I booked, because I act as well. Right. I booked a small part in a film that was shooting in Baton Rouge. So as I was driving to Baton Rouge, I was like, you know what, let me just hit him up and see how Shreveport is treating him or whatever. And so when I did, he told me that he was like, no, I left Shreveport like a week ago. We're actually finishing the film in Baton Rouge. So I'm like, okay, because I believe in, you know, signs and like all the universe. And so I'm like, okay. So we agreed to meet up for dinner or just hang out. And once we did, we became like best friends and inseparable. And
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, you know, so then how long were you guys in a relationship?
We were together for like maybe 4 and some change.
That's a good amount of time.
Yeah, it was a while.
And you have 2 beautiful children.
Thank you. Yes.
2 beautiful children from it.
Yes.
And we're planning to get married.
Oh yeah, we were engaged.
Right. So I'm asking all of that not to take her through the painful stuff, but when this person is a part of your life and you're looking at your future as having them a part of it, and then that future changes, and now you have to come up with, okay, not only are we not together, but I have to deal with you for the rest of my life because I have 2 children, so I can't allow my pain to overshadow that. So where were you at in the beginning when you guys first broke up? Your children were how old?
Oh gosh, Maddie and Mason, maybe 2 and 3 type thing. I might be wrong, but I'm thinking around 2 and 3. But yeah, it was a hard place at that time, and the show that I was on, Atlanta Exes, actually came into my life right in the beginning of the breakup. So the whole world got to experience, you know, everything.
Seeing you experience the heartbreak.
Exactly. So God is good, because just where I was then and where I am now, it's just like 2 totally different worlds.
Right.
But yeah, it was obviously really hard, and because as most people who follow me know, my parents next month will be together 47 years.
Wow.
So that's all that I knew.
Right.
So it was kind of like, wait, what do you mean? Like, no, come on, let's do this.
We have
go to counseling. Like, like, hello, it's family, you know.
Right.
And, you know, and he just reassured me. He was like, no, we'll still be family no matter what. I'm like, okay. And I know so many other people have done it, you know, single moms everywhere, single dads, and it's possible. So I'm like, okay, you know what, just figure it out, and have a praying family, and, you know, just an awesome foundation. you know, they held me up, you know,
Right.
my faith, and
Well, that's
so grateful.
That sounds awesome and it's great. But at the time, people don't become single moms because they just sign up to be.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
of
You
course.
kind of end up
Oh yeah, it
getting thrust into.
Oh yeah, I was just like, wait, what? Hold on. Okay, you're joking, right?
Right. I'm being
But,
what?
yeah, like, I'm like, So, you know, I fought for it, you
Yeah.
know, but one thing I did learn, and one of my biggest lessons, is if a person, doesn't matter how, you know, good you are, how nice you are,
Right.
how, you know, appeasing, whatever, if
Right.
that other person isn't there and doesn't want to be there, like, you gotta
Right.
let it go,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Like,
and
it's
ultimately,
over.
it's not for you.
Exactly,
But it doesn't
exactly.
feel that way
Of course
at
not.
the time.
Yeah, but eventually you find out, like, you know those things, like, you know, God doesn't, like, they came into your life for a reason and a season, and God has other things for you.
Absolutely.
You know? So you have to embrace it, no matter how hard it is at the time.
Right,
But trust
right.
me, you know.
It does. It
Yeah,
does. And
it
time
gets
heals
better.
everything, which is why she's
Absolutely.
doing so amazing right
you.
now.
Yes,
Um,
God is
was the TV show, do you think that helped you get through it, or do you think that made it more difficult?
Honestly, it helped. It helped me a lot because I was amongst amazingly strong women that actually went through
Right.
what I was going
Right,
through.
a little bit before, because you were like the newest.
Yeah, I
One,
was
right.
actually. Yeah, so to be able to get advice from them and just listen, and you know, it helped me a lot.
Right.
It really did. It was a blessing.
So moving past, okay, the breakup, and then getting accustomed to that, and then visitation, and then eventually that person moves on and you move on, and both of you
Yeah.
guys have different people in your lives. How in the world, especially in a public forum, because the public was invited to kind of see you guys go through the
Yeah.
process of getting comfortable in the new relationship. We saw him move on, we saw him get engaged, we saw him have another baby, and then we saw you guys eventually come together and now have a book with him writing the foreword.
Yes, yes.
How did
I'm
we
so
get
grateful. Just time, time, communication, huge. Forgiveness.
Right.
Forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself and the other person, and you know, move on ultimately.
Right,
You know.
right.
So yeah, it took a lot of healing, healing, and just ultimately getting over
The hurt.
yourself. Yeah, getting over yourself.
That's
Seriously,
true.
and
Yeah.
your ego, and doing what's ultimately best for the kids.
Right. I
That's
see that.
how I got there.
There's a statement. Well, there's actually one of the excerpts here on the back. The quotes from Angela Simmons says, "If there's one thing I'm certain of, is that a child must have the opportunity to know both parents. Egos and personal hurt must be checked for the best interest of your child."
Yes.
Now that's a big statement, especially when you're talking about two women
yeah.
learning to get along and
Yeah.
learning to, that woman is going to be a part of your, a mother to your child in some way,
Yes,
in many
absolutely.
ways. And then you also have a relationship with his new children, correct?
Oh,
the new
yeah,
babies.
yeah.
So how did you and his new wife, Crystal, manage to kind of bridge that and become amicable, you know, to where you could to have the relationship now that looks
Yeah.
like you guys are one big family?
Yeah, it's all about family. Ultimately, in the beginning, when like their dad and I would have little, you know, spats on the phone, you know, like it
Yeah.
was hard. It
Yeah.
was super hard, and people in their feelings. Crystal actually DM'd me one day and was like, "Listen, I'm not trying to, you know, like be their mom, like whatever. Like I know you guys are going through what you're going through, but you know, like let's meet up." And it was right on time because I think he was doing Sesame Street actually live, which was pretty cool. And of course, he and I had this little rule, like timeline for like how long we think it should be before we introduce each other. I talk about that in the book.
Right.
The other person, the new person, rather, to the kids, because you want to make sure that it's
Right, it's
they're
gonna
going to be
stick.
there.
Right,
Exactly.
right,
You can't
right, right.
have each and everybody around your kids.
No.
So it was coming upon like he related
What was
to me
that?
that
What
it
was
serious.
that? What was that timeline? Because I think you know what you guys have kind of put together can help a lot of people,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so I think that people struggle with, when is it okay for me to do that? When is it okay for me to just tell you that I'm doing this, especially for you guys, because it was in the public. But when do you think is a good amount of time before children need to be introduced to a significant other?
Me personally, I would say 6 months.
Okay.
You know, like around that time. Even though people can go years and years
Right.
before letting off the mask and revealing who they really, really are. But ultimately,
Absolutely.
you know, that's another story. But ultimately, I feel like 6 months is a good time
Okay.
to figure out if this person's going to be around or just get the vibe.
If it's a serious relationship,
If it's
right?
serious, I feel like 6 months is a good number, so that's what we agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
However, he knew before, and so that was kind of a situation we were going through, and we had to talk. And I was actually glad that she reached out for that.
Kudos to her for that. That was
yeah,
big
no,
of
for
her.
sure. Yeah, it takes a grown woman to do that.
Right.
And when we did meet, because ultimately, like I said, I would have to meet her first before, you know, just to see, you know, okay,
Yeah.
what's this all about? Who are you? Because you're going to be around my kids. And so it was great because we were going to LA to film. He was filming in Sesame Street, like I said. And so it was perfect. I'm like, this is great because we need to meet anyway. Like,
Right.
absolutely, I would love to. Let's do this, whatever. And once we did that, like, I was like, oh, it was pleasant. I was pleasantly surprised. Like, it was good. It was all good. She felt like one of my homegirls.
Okay.
And so that made it easier. But like I said, he knew before. So I feel like 6 months, but if you know, because sometimes you just know.
Yeah,
You
sometimes
know,
you do.
and
Or you think you know.
exactly.
You think you
so,
know.
Yeah.
If you truly feel like you know.
Yeah, and so they met her before our little timeline, which at first I was like, it was a lot to swallow. And I'm like, but okay,
Yeah.
that's what it is. There's nothing I can do. I have no control over it.
Right.
It's just a lesson within itself.
Right.
You know, when you
Right.
learn to chill out and just accept
What is happening?
what's happening, you know, you can't control everything. Like, don't sweat the stuff that you have absolutely no control over. It'll just make life that much easier. But yeah.
If you're just turning in, this is Crystal, of course, a reality check, and we're talking about Monyetta Shaw. She has a book, Keep It Classy, basically a guide to co-parenting with an ex. Positively, right, in a classy way.
Yes.
And so let me ask you this, because you mentioned that his new wife now reached out to you, but I think a lot of couples have a hard time with knowing who needs to set the dynamic, who sets the dynamic so that both sides are respectful. Because if you have a situation where, you know, one woman is hurt, another woman is feeling a little bit threatened because that woman, you know, used to be in that situation, there's probably still feelings on both sides. Is it the man's responsibility to set the tone so that both women respect each other?
100%. It is 100% the man's, you know, like that's his role. I feel like he sets the tone for all of it.
Right.
If he allows like the bickering, the bad mouthing, like you need to like, no, this is my kid's mother, regardless of how you feel.
A lot of times he's telling he's going back and forth. Let's just keep it real, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times in a situation, the guy is telling the new person negative things, and then sometimes he may also be sharing things on the other side. So
or
I think
still messing with, you know, you just never know. It could get so messy. But I absolutely believe that it's his place. He sets the tone. You know, he's the dominant one, the man, and he should, you know, kind of dictate how it should be. And I absolutely believe that.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Now, let me ask you this: what advice would you give to women that may be in your position that, you know, meeting? I can remember. I'll just, you know, speak from personal experience. Thinking of meeting this new woman was not something I really wanted to do.
No, I
didn't want to do that. So, what advice would you give to someone that's like, I don't really want to meet her because I'm still hurting over the fact that we're not together, and now this new relationship is being kind of flaunted in my face. So how would you suggest someone deal with that?
You just have to get over yourself and realize why it's important to meet her. You know, and that's what I had to do. I call my father, who is like my rock, you know, and he keeps it real. No matter how hard it hurts, no matter how hard you don't want to hear it, and he gave me a little scripture right after that to let me know. I remember on the phone with him in the hotel room, bawling my eyes out. And then I didn't know at the time, but he had a conversation with my ex prior to talking to me. He's just like, any hope you have for it, baby girl, like it's not there, you know. So let it go. So just getting over yourself, and whatever you thought was. That's the thing, we hold on to it, you know, like it's not there anymore. It's not
a lot of
God
times we see her as the reason it's not together.
It's not, because even though, you know, we were broken up maybe almost a year before they even met.
Right.
I know people got confused because we were still cohabitating together. We were
Right.
still living in the house. And
Right.
then the show was on at the same time.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people think that it's real time when it's short show.
That's true. That's true.
So it was, a lot of things got pretty messy as far as in the socially and social network.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
It's just
Yeah.
a part of, a lot of us have gone through it, and you
it's
just
a
have
lot.
to have to deal with and get over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What about now? Another big issue is discipline, right? Because I've heard a lot of couples have issues with that. If my kids are over your house, I don't want your new stepmom disciplining my children. I don't want you cutting the hair, or just different things like that. So,
boundaries.
so how do you guys work to set boundaries so that you feel comfortable when they're in his care and her care ultimately?
I'm definitely a hands-on mom, and that was a lesson for me to not hover and just not, if I don't have control over something, like just relax, enjoy my little time that I have with myself, and not worry about what they're doing. Of course, you're gonna be worried. You know, you're their mother.
Yeah.
You know, but honestly, I would say trial and error. You know, like co-parenting, like it's an everyday thing. Like you learn as you go.
Right.
And again, this was all new to me. You
Right,
know, so
right.
I'm just like, okay. So a couple of things happened, and we had to have conversations about it. You know, because I definitely think that there's a line. You know, certain things you shouldn't do, or you should call.
Right.
The mother or
Right,
the father,
and check
see
in
if
with
it's
that
okay,
person. Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And a lot of things will be good if you take yourself out of the situation and put yourself in their shoes and be like, okay, this was me. Would I be okay with this happening without consulting, the other parent?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think you got to set boundaries and go from there.
And go from there.
Yeah.
What does it look like on a regular basis now? Because now your children are how old?
They are 7 and 8.
Oh wow! And there's
Yes.
an adorable picture of the kids here
thank
on the
you.
back.
Yeah, it was a couple of years before, but yeah.
So they have two home situations. They have home with mommy and home with daddy. How do you guys kind of keep them to where? Because kids, they probably aren't at the age yet, but kids can be a little bit manipulative. Like, I get to do this at this house.
Oh,
Like, I get to
yeah.
do that at that house. So how do you guys explain to them? How did you explain to them initially that this was,
Yeah, because they'll definitely try it. They'll try it. Honestly, because their whole life, dad's been busy. So I like to say this was the kind of underlying blessing for my situation, because
Right.
it would have been so much harder if he was like the regular 9 to 5
Right.
dad. They would have felt it more.
right?
But they didn't, because he was always in and out. So what we had to explain was, okay, so now daddy doesn't live here anymore. When he comes in town, he's not going to be living here. He has his own house, and you guys get to go. So,
Right.
and they were younger
Right.
then, so we were able to. And for the most part, they handled it like they are some troopers.
Yeah. I think sometimes the parents think that the kids won't be able to handle it, but usually it's the parents that have the harder time
No,
with
for
it.
sure.
If it's not done the right way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's important. I feel like therapy can be your best friends, and I feel like they're never too young, you
Right.
know, because
Right.
it tolls, and especially with him, having more children, and then now him being at the house, and,
Right.
appearing that he's there more, it's just, it's a lot. So
Yeah.
you have to put them first and make sure that their little hearts are taken care of, as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for
Well, that's
sure.
what good moms do. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, for sure.
definitely congratulations
on
to you on
everybody.
being
Oh,
able to
thank
do
you.
that in a way with
Thank you.
class. I do want to ask you one more question, just for if you could go back and tell your younger self something, because I think relationships allow us an opportunity to learn,
Yes.
right? So you made a decision in the relationship with yourself that you probably made as a result of the relationship, right? So if you had to look back on maybe yourself 10 years ago and could think, should I make a decision about my future as far as, do I want to have more children, or do I want to do this? Do you think, would you have made that decision differently based on what you know now as a woman?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, I like to say no regrets, because it made me the woman that I am today.
Absolutely.
But there are a couple of things I absolutely would have done differently. in my situation.
Yeah.
I guess if I would have known, if I would have been able to take a glimpse,
Right.
you know,
Right.
at the outcome of it.
But I think that's why we have the opportunity to tell younger girls. 'Cause I know for myself,
important.
I would say to a younger woman, like, you know, getting married at 20 may not be the best idea. You know, it may be a good idea to learn about who you are and get to know yourself.
Experience and things.
Right. And making big decisions about your livelihood because of a man or because of anybody or
Yeah.
even their circumstance at
Same
the time.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes, girl. Yeah, like the big thing with me, you know, just as far as because my current significant
Who's
other,
that?
yeah, you know, like we discussed having kids again, and you know that elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to make sure I'm married and then do it. But then that doesn't mean anything.
There is
you
no
know,
guarantee.
because
there's no guarantee.
hello, just piece of paper, you can break up tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
But just a few things definitely.
Right.
Just so permanent. But at that time, and then I guess because of my background and seeing, you know, my parents.
Right.
And, you know, he was my best friend. So
Yeah.
no one could have told me.
No
So
one
I'm
could have
like,
told you.
I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just definitely would have chilled out.
Yeah.
You know, or
Well,
did
you
different
lived,
things. You know,
and
but
you
it's all
loved.
good.
Yeah, and you
It's all
learned.
good. Absolutely.
Most important thing you
Yes,
learned.
yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You guys definitely, if you're going through this or you know someone who's going through this, pick up a copy of Keep It Classy. I think this can relate to so many situations.
Oh,
there are people that have been in relationships, people that have been married, people that weren't even in a relationship, but you still, you know, need to learn how to co-parent effectively for the benefit of your children. So we thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
We hope you'll come back again.
Of course I will. Of course, of course.
This has been Crystal Jordan, Monyetta Shaw, and Reality Check, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.